Hello everyone and welcome to the Online Hustle Podcast. Today I'm joined by Mark Rushmore, co-founder of SURI. He's here to share how his product is revolutionizing sustainability, one toothbrush at a time. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Online Hustle Podcast. Today I'm joined by Mark Rushmore from SURI. Mark, how are you?
I'm great, thanks, Piero. How are you?
I'm very, very good. Hey, thank you for asking. Not many of my guests ask because it normally tends to be an episode about them, but I appreciate the question. Hey, I'm going to go straight into it with SURI, obviously being such an environmentally, sustainable brand and company. I think I want to create a little bit of a journey for our listeners to, one, understanding, obviously trying to fix a solution of what something's quite problematic, like disposable toothbrushes, because it's something that everybody uses and we all always have to dispose of, even if it's electric and a toothbrush head. So if we can start with the idea implementation, like I know that you're a co-founder, I know there's someone else that worked with you on this, but how did you come up with the idea and actually conceptualizing that? How hard was that?
So sure, I think in our research, both Guy, my co-founder, and I discovered that every year over 4 billion toothbrushes, including electric ones, are thrown out and end up in landfill and our oceans. And what's more is electrical waste, while it accounts for about 2% of landfill, it accounts for about 70% of the toxicity found in those landfills. What's more is, while we were sort of researching, we discovered that virtually every toothbrush you've ever owned since you were a child still exists and will do for a long, long time. We just thought, that's absolutely wild. Now, what's more is that electric brushes haven't really meaningfully changed in decades. You can see adverts from the 1980s and they're more or less the same sort of bulky size and shape that they were back then. 99.9%, we estimate, of them are welded shut. So when the battery dies, which commonly it does, there's no way of removing the battery and recycling them efficiently. And then lastly, we found that there were a lot of features that when we spoke to thousands of consumers and dental professionals, that people just weren't using and didn't need, that sort of reduced battery life. Things like a Bluetooth app. I mean, I should ask you, do you use a Bluetooth app when you're brushing your teeth every day?
I do, actually. Yes, I do. Yeah.
You use the Bluetooth app?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I've used it once where
Okay.
I've tried these products where one is a little bit disgusting, but your earwax cleaning Bluetooth app to actually see what it was like. And I've seen this Chinese product about with your camera to see if your teeth have decay of any sort. So there's these new products. I've tried these products and you do have a Bluetooth app. It's not necessarily bad, but to actually see what's going on.
But you tell me, on a daily basis, do you use an app every day you clean your teeth?
No
chance. Right, no chance. You and virtually no one else I've spoken to, 99% of people aren't using these sort of apps to brush their teeth every day. But obviously, it takes up battery life as well as flashing lights and 9 modes. So we just thought there had to be a better way to make a more enjoyable experience, which was also more sustainable. And therefore we created SURI, which is short for Sustainable Rituals.
Amazing. That's really, really good. And I'm amazing about the research that you've done, because it kind of shows, especially the way you just portrayed yourself, what were the parts that you really wanted to change. And I think in creating new products, that's a massive, in product design anyway, that's a massive thing to know, to be able to implement your changes. Now, from idea to actually making material and going to suppliers and looking for manufacturers, how hard was that transition to actually being able to finally come up with the final product?
Yeah, it was really, really hard. So, you got to cast your mind back to 2020. There was this thing called lockdown. And we're looking to create not like an OEM product, but like something bespoke, something using new materials that had not been used previously in toothbrushes. So our heads are made from cornstarch, the bristles are made from castor oil, for example. Our brush has a screw at the bottom so we can remove the battery and repair it. The body's made from aluminium. It's half the size of a traditional brush. All of these things are sort of quite difficult to do. So we spoke to about 26 different factories of whom about 25 of them just told us it wasn't possible, it wasn't economical. Why would we want to repair it? They want to sell more toothbrushes. Castor oil couldn't work, cornstarch couldn't work, etc. But we wanted to keep going, and we're determined to find a solution. And so, yeah, that's exactly what we did. And so it was very, very difficult. It took many months and a lot of no's. Certainly, after 20 people tell you something's not possible, it's easy to think, well, maybe it isn't. I must say, Guy in particular has like a tenacity that I've not seen in anyone else, and he just won't take no for an answer.
That's really, really good. And I think, especially when speaking to manufacturers, one thing that I've noticed is it becomes almost easier for them to do what they already do, right? Because just that's
Exactly.
so designing something new is always a little bit more complicated. So you have to, as a new business, you have to give them a lot of incentive to even try thinking about new methods. So when coming out with the final concept, in terms of what was essential for you that your toothbrush had to have, like, was it the durability? Was it just the environmental friendliness, the sustainability? What was it that for you was the absolute must-have part?
So great question. I think at the core of our design are sort of three key principles. One is performance. So no one wants a toothbrush which is sustainable but doesn't give you a really great quality clean. So we knew that we had to have a really strong brush that delivered over 33,000 sonic vibrations, which creates this dynamic in your teeth, which combines with the sonic vibrations combined with the saliva in order to remove plaque more effectively. So we knew that performance was going to be really, really important. Likewise with the shape of the bristles, to ensure that you get like a depth of cleaning, so like in the sort of depths of your teeth, because obviously they're not totally flat, they're rounded. And so we have our W shape, which we work with dental professionals to sort of perfect. So performance, number one. Sustainability was really, really important to us. It was no compromise area, from the materials to the modularity to even our packaging is 100% recyclable. But then lastly was design. So, we wanted to make something that looked desirable. So we spent a lot of time sort of, getting the colors right, ensuring the materiality felt premium in people's hands. But again, it was sort of no compromise on certain other design features. For example, because we don't have, like irrelevant Bluetooth apps that no one's using, instead we focus on having a long battery life. So our battery life is 40 days on a single charge, which is something that consumers really love. No one wants to keep charging their toothbrush, or even worse, to find your electric toothbrush is dead when you go to clean your teeth. So, we've ensured that design features like that, or like our UV LED case, which kills 99.9% of bacteria, enable, our shoppers and our consumers and our community to enjoy brushing again.
That's really, really interesting. And I think, you've touched up three different parts about the bacteria side of things and the recharging side of things. There are already, like, from experience, from having an electric toothbrush myself, the worst thing is when you're brushing your teeth and you run out of battery, right? Because you don't know how to fit, you can't charge it quickly. So having that long battery life really does help. The other thing about what you said about the design side of things being really important. So I normally do a little bit of a deep dive on the company. And Curry, I don't know, do you know your Trustpilot scores currently?
I certainly do. My favorite API of all time is Trustpilot to Slack.
Yeah. So it's straight on your website.
It goes straight into our Slack channel. So we are seeing live feedback from customers every day, so we can respond immediately. But I mean, you tell me, I haven't seen it this morning.
Yeah. So currently you have a total of 2,031 reviews with 4.8 out of 5, which is incredibly high for Trustpilot. And what's the funniest thing about the design is the latest review literally says, "What a beautiful website," and I confirm, like, it is a beautifully designed website. And because of what you already said about the design of the product, how much did that obviously impact your decision making when finalizing the product, especially after saying how hard it was to make it in the first place?
So one thing I'd say is, like, that's a great comment about the website, but what's amazing about the comments is, like, yes, we've got to 4.8, yes, we've got over 2,000 reviews, yes, we're the most highly rated toothbrush on Trustpilot. But genuinely, if you look at other reviews and people are writing not like a single line, they're writing paragraphs about how much they enjoy this. They've been using another brand for maybe 20 years, but now they're a total SURI convert, that they look forward to brushing their teeth, that they've loved the whole experience, that they're telling all their friends. And it's just, for me, that's like the true magic of SURI, is seeing how our community really genuinely don't just sort of like the product, but really love it, and they're sort of like sharing it with other people. But coming back to your question about design is just really pivotal for us. You know, it's a core part of our DNA. It's one of our 3 pillars of design, sustainability, and performance. And so we see design in everything. It's the design of the packaging, the unboxing, the website, the checkout, the email flows, the imagery, the everything. And so, you know, we're very careful about how we sort of, you know, portray that. And we want to do things differently. We're not looking to replicate, you know, the traditional players in the industry.
Yeah, no, amazing. And one thing that you said about the packaging being 100% recyclable, I think it's a point that I've already made throughout these episodes about creating products. Packaging is one part that whenever we buy a product, it's something that we throw away, no matter what. Hence why it becomes increasingly more important about really thinking about what your product comes at. It has to be beautiful, it has to be engaging, it has to have your company values, it has to have to your, you know, compliance records if it has to, but ultimately it does get thrown away. Eventually anyway, it will always get thrown away, and making that as sustainable as possible becomes really important. And I know you've done that already. Now that we've spoken about the implementation side of things, comes the launch, right? And let's say we've already spoken about the website, but what was essential to you, and what did you think about was essential, not even just in a marketing perspective, but getting these products to customers? What was the most important thing for you?
In terms of physically getting into them?
Yeah, absolutely. Getting it to market, getting from selling on us on a normal channel like Amazon marketplaces, or getting the website done and making them more important.
Yeah, so we had a period of pre-sales before we launched, while we were sort of manufacturing a product, but we wanted to sort of let people know about it to begin with. And so we didn't use any of the sort of platforms like Kickstarter. We decided to sort of run ads on our own, and start sort of talking to press using our early samples. And then from there, you know, like by the time we actually sort of launched in May of last year, we had thousands of orders, which in itself was quite interesting, because we, you know, had a 3PL who went from, you know, not shipping a single item to having to ship, you know, several thousand orders in the first sort of few days. So it was a huge logistics challenge, and a lot of late nights, and then customer service sort of queries. But it was an exciting journey, and I look back on it fondly sort of now in retrospect.
That's amazing. That's a really, really good story. Now, we've already seen the reviews from the consumers and the ratings that you're getting. How essential does that make the overall sign and the overall brand awareness for SURI? How much does the customer review really big part of it? How much do you promote that on like social media, for example?
Honestly, we probably don't do it enough. It's like the hidden secret source of SURI. You know, we have our Trustpilot on our website, and we use it, you know, here and there. But honestly, I think it's like this untapped resource. It's our secret sauce almost. But what's great is that, you know, by delivering, you know, the best experience that we can, and look, we're certainly not perfect. Like, we get lots of things wrong all the time, but we're constantly looking to improve our experience, our product for our consumers, and, you know, take feedback where we can, and like make, you know, iterations on the product and future product development. So it's really the lifeblood of the business, listening to the consumer and, you know, adapting our proposition to sort of meet their needs. So yeah, it's kind of right at the core.
Amazing. And what about the other side of things? Because we're talking about something that's very essential to every person and every human being out there. So what about dental professionals? Because I think it's been very popular, like big brands, you know, established brands like Oral-B have always had these TV ads, massive TV ad campaigns saying, oh, it's approved by 9 out of 10 dentists. So, you know, it's recommended by dentists. what have dental professionals actually said about your product?
Yeah, great question. So we're very lucky from, early days, we worked with a group of different dental professionals, including Professor Damien Walmsley, who is the former scientific advisor to the British Dental Association. He's also the co-author of the Cochrane Review, which is the sort of foremost research into studies around the world on the efficacy of electric brushes versus manual ones. So he's been an advisor to some of the largest dental companies in the world. And unfortunately, he's now like an avid SURI user, an advocate, but also he's really helped us on that journey. So he was an early supporter, but then we've had Dr. Munira Tassi sort of working with us in-house, who then helped us to build a dental advisory board built of dental nurses, dental hygienists, and dentists themselves, both in the UK and in the US. And so we have this incredible sort of panel of experts. But we know that, for them and for ourselves and for our consumers, you really need to have, efficacy claims done in a clinical setting. So we're really proud to have got great results from our clinical research conducted in the USA, again, by the same clinical research center as several of those leading brands, which shows that our brushes are multiple times more effective than using a manual brush, which is the industry standard. And indeed, again, like for me, like a real sign of like how well your brush performs is that, anecdotally, we're told now that the researchers and the people who own the research firm will use SURI as their daily brush. So, these people have been doing this for decades, and for them to be using our brush is a real sort of sign of support, I think.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. And I think it's great testimony if professors and established people in the field try your product and give you testimony about your product. It just shows the testament to your own brand and what you've created, which is really, really important. Now, I'm going to go into a little bit more deep dive on the business side of things, being a little bit of an e-commerce nerd. So obviously, business-wise and the way the website is set up and the way your sales streams are set up, you have the one-off sale, which is obviously the toothbrush, and then you have the subscription models, obviously, that you need for the toothbrush heads, which is something that gets replaced, I don't know, on a monthly basis, every 3 months. I think dentists say you have to change your toothbrush once every 3 months. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right.
Yeah. So how do you go about actually making sure that inventory is kept the same? Because I'm guessing you have a lot more replacement heads over the amount of toothbrushes as much. And I don't want you to give too much away, but on a revenue basis, how much is subscription model important for the business?
Yeah. So again, great questions. And I think you're right. On our particular product, an electric toothbrush, it is, you buy the handle, you get the replacement heads, and we do offer subscription to offer additional convenience to our customers. However, our customers can also buy heads separately, whether it's with us or on Amazon, or actually recently we launched in Boots. And so it's easy for them to buy heads in a number of different locations without being subscribed. And in terms of how do we forecast it, we're just constantly revising our forecast as we're growing and growing and growing. So we have a supply chain expert who part of our team, actually we've got a couple, and they sort of help us with the forecasting. But yeah, in terms of as a percentage of revenue, subscriptions we've only launched recently in the last few months. And so as an overall percentage of revenue, it's relatively small, but it's also growing very, very quickly as we see it's something that our sort of community have been asking for, and we were listening to them and wanted to make sure that when we launched it, it was done properly. But since launching, we've seen a really, really great response and uptake on it.
That's really good. And I think it gives, on a more deeper level for all teeth out there, I think gives more incentive for actually replacing the head, because I think I might be one of those, but I'm a little bit lazy to come in to actually finally change that in that toothbrush head. And I think that subscription actually kind of gives you the incentive to, okay, my new subscription has arrived. Let's take it off and use the new one, which is quite easy to do. I think that's really, really important. Another thing I really appreciate about that comment about actually you can use whatever head you want is I've actually tried the bamboo alternative of what you guys do. And I appreciate what you have done in terms of design, because it's not the same as it is already out there. The bamboo option would have probably been too easy, simply because I've used bamboo toothbrushes, and honestly, I've always been in pain trying to use them because they're a little bit too sturdy for the inside of your mouth. So coming out with the new concept and making sure that the products are equally sustainable, but an alternative, I think it was really, really important, and I can see the success that you're having because of it. Now, I'm looking at the website currently, and I see that you are providing a US USB charger, which I think is a massive nightmare for any brand that creates electronic products, even if you have a plug or a recharging option, simply because each country has different plugs. You've got to adapt accordingly. And finally, as you can see with the new iPhones coming out as well, in Europe, there is a USB-C standardized requirement where like every single electrical equipment has to have USB-C from now on. How do you see you having to adapt when the demand of SURI will come to every other market?
Yeah, so we already ship a lot of our product to the USA, and we get sort of demand from other countries, even though we're not currently sort of like really sort of promoting there. We're always looking at like the rules and regulations in different countries, and we're sort of adapting our sort of forward planning on innovation accordingly. So I mean, we just sort of adapt as required, but at the moment, because we have a USB solution, we provide an adapter for people who want to use a shave socket, and most people, are very familiar and have, their USB plugs from other devices they may have.
That's really good. Yeah, it does work out quite well like that. Right, I'm going to look into more about the future now and what's to come, sort of thing, for SURI. And
Sure.
from my perspective, it's a lot about the partnership and potential collab situations that you have. Is there something that is in your mind? What are the potential opportunities that you have, especially with other sustainable brands out there, that you could work with?
Yeah, so that's something that we're looking at sort of fairly regularly. And in fact, I'm going to tell you this first because by the time this comes out, it will be public announced. But we've actually just agreed like a nice partnership with Wired magazine.
Wow!
Host this event.
Congratulations!
Thanks very much.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it's a really great partnership. They've been like really wonderful to work with, and they host a series of events. And so there's one on impact, one on finance, one on health, these summits that they're doing. And we'll be we're a gifting partner to their speakers, but we'll also be attending those events and sort of sharing the SURI story with their attendees. And so, so I think, they hold a lot of regard in these spaces for, especially leading on things like impact. And their event in November. And so we're really excited to be able to sort of partner with them and sort of help with the discussions on, where business can play a role in the sort of fight against climate change ongoing. But then in terms of other brands, we have a series of exciting partnerships that I can't reveal today. But we have a lot of things in the pipeline.
No, thank you for releasing the exclusive news. As you said, it will probably be out by the time this episode is out, but that's really, really good and an amazing partnership to be part of. Similarly, obviously, with everything we've spoken about, I think we only spoke about the challenge of creating the product. If there was another business that it was in your sort of position, I'm not saying about toothbrushes, but actually creating a similar product, trying to change a norm into a very sustainable option. What are the other challenges that you would warn other businesses about when creating that type of product?
Well, firstly, I don't know if I'd warn other people. I would like encourage. And so I'd be like, like definitely think about it. I think it's about thinking about things holistically. It's about bringing in external sources to help guide your thinking and sort of identify like bits that you might not have thought of. So we work with people like the Sustainability Group and their product Future Plus. That's been a huge help for us in sort of guiding our understanding, not just in terms of sustainability, but our policies towards people, diversity and inclusion, how we're working with suppliers. And so there's all these different approaches which have been very helpful. That alongside with B Corp, we're a B Corp registered business. That's been really useful, again, in guiding and helping us understand more about the different things that we can be doing. And then we've also just taken advice from sector-specific people on whether that's materials, recycling, repairing, and that's been, the way we've gone about it. But I'd encourage anyone, when you're building your product, we believe that in 5, 10, 15 years, almost all products will be more sustainable and have sustainability to their core. It sort of is a necessary function. And then it'll become business as usual. Sustainability is like expected. And all we're trying to do is get ahead of that curve by sort of building it now and then building a product which has features beyond just sustainability while making it central at the same time.
Amazing. And in terms of, it's a tough word, but competition, because it's something that we say on this podcast, it's innovation is the key to compete and be ahead of the game throughout the industry, in the industry that you're part in. What do you think SURI needs to do to compete? I mean, in terms of brand awareness and the branding that you created is so far ahead, but in terms of competing on what's next, how much are you developing and how much is product development is available out there for you to really think about the next step for your brand?
Sure. So I think the first thing on competing is that loads and loads of people brush their teeth, right? It is an enormous market. And so we don't really focus much on, what are the competition doing, because there's room for a lot of different players. I think more important to us is, our competitive advantage is just really focusing on what's better for the consumer and what's better for the planet. And, having that in mind with every decision we make is kind of just how we intend to play this game and how we intend to develop the most compelling product from a sustainability perspective, but also most compelling product from a consumer perspective. And so to that end, we will continue to, speak to our customers, do more research, speak with our dental professionals, speak with sustainability experts, find out what they like. And people email us, every single day with ideas for improvements, things that they don't like about the brush, things that we could improve. And we take all of that and, we feed it into our innovation plan. And I must say, again, without giving too much away, we have some innovation which I personally believe is like a game changer in the industry. So watch this space in 2024.
Amazing. More exciting things to come, which is really, really good. I was finding one of the thing is on a marketing perspective, and I've already talked about design and how well it's done. Obviously when you do research and how, advertising nowadays is incredibly targeted. I was just about to play something on YouTube, and believe it or not, SURI's YouTube ad is in front of my face, and beautiful ad just as much. And obviously that becomes a marketing tool and a pay-per-click tool for you to obviously be access to the website and have a potential sale. For me, it's also about raising awareness, because from my perspective as a consumer that brushes teeth every day with whatever toothbrush is available, I don't necessarily think about what impact my consumption and my own carbon footprint is, right? So how much I've seen with that ad, I really did think about, okay, the replacement I had in my toothbrush, I'm going to throw it away today. Where is it going to go? And you've already answered that. Actually, most of the toothbrushes that you've used in your lifetime are still out there. They've not been disposed of because they're so hard to dispose of. So with those, well, a little bit of an odd question really, but how much do you think it affects people and the way they think? The advertising is not necessarily just about your product, but it's actually a lot about the awareness behind the sustainability of the product. How much do you think it actually plays both parts of the game?
Yeah, so I think there is different answers to that question. Now, different consumers tell us that they choose our product for different reasons. Some people, it's because it's got the 40-day battery life. Some people, because they love the color. Some people, they just really want a travel case and they really care about hygiene. And so the UV light is really important. And for others, it's sustainability. But for a lot, it's a kind of combination of all the different factors. So I think it's important for us to, explain, why we're different, which is what we do. But at the same time, allow the shopper, the consumer to decide, the elements is most important to them. What's great is that regardless of whether someone buys us for sustainability or not, our product has many more sustainable features than, other brands, which means that, we're making an impact even if someone hasn't chosen to do it for that reason.
That's perfect. And final question about SURI itself. Where do you see the product and the brand going? How much more sustainable can it get? And how many more, game-changing products can you really make? And obviously without saying too much as well.
Well, no, I'm very happy to share. So in terms of how much more sustainable, like that is a never-ending process. We will never stop trying to improve that ever. And, it's just always looking for any sort of change that we can make and weighing up, when and how we can do that, whether it's new materials, new shipping methods, new anything. It's really at the core of what we do, and we will never, ever stop on that. It's constant. And in terms of how many more products can we release, I think we're in a really fortunate position where we found a product that people truly love. It's this, we've created this product that people truly love. I think there's many, many more people in the world. If you walked onto the streets and asked people, what toothbrush brands they've heard of, I don't think, maybe 1 in 10, probably less than 1 in 100 would say SURI, because the vast majority of people don't know. So I think we've got a really, big job ahead of us just to try and sell and to make people aware that we have this, wonderful product. And before we think about, launching into 10 other categories, I think we really have a job ahead of us to drive the awareness of our electric toothbrush, and do that both in the UK and potentially in other geographies. And then, we do have innovation coming, but we're not looking to throw out, anything onto the market. It's very much more, a few considered innovations, and all of them will be centered around this idea of performance, sustainability, and design. And they need to meet a threshold for us. We will not launch anything that doesn't meet one of those three thresholds.
No, that's perfectly put. It's exactly the answer I wanted, because I think it gives perspective on business values and making sure that your performance and the performance of the product stays so high. You've given yourself those metrics to really say, actually, if it doesn't do any of those 3 things, then we're not going to launch anything new. And I think that's amazing. And I really, really appreciate your time on describing that. I think it's been really, really insightful on especially creating something really new that is really important and sustainable at the same time. And that's why I really wanted you to be on this podcast. It's been really, really good. So we'll go into the final section, and I've already told you about what's coming on. You've already sent me a picture of you from 10 years ago. And the question is, and the section is called Believe It or Not. So believe it or not, 10 years ago is the year 2013. It might just show our age a little bit, but for me, 2013 feels like yesterday, but it is now 10 years ago, which is crazy. Now, obviously, SURI is still a very new company, and you were saying it's almost like a lockdown business, lockdown idea. But if you were to give one piece of advice to 2013 Mark, what would that be? And it cannot be investing in crypto, because that's a cheat code that you're not allowed to take. It's I guess keep laughing at that question simply because I think it's just too an easy answer. So what would that advice be?
That was my go-to answer. I was thinking like 13, like holy moly, I could have. Yeah, no. It's a great question. So in 2013, I'd recently left my job at P&G and Kellogg's, and decided to take a year off to fulfill all my wildest sort of dreams. And I mean, maybe they weren't that wild, but I cycled from Canada to Mexico. I learned to become a ski
Wow.
instructor in Canada. I won a social media competition to sail across the Atlantic from Qingdao in China to San Francisco. And then I did some traveling, and then I wanted to set up a company. And so in 2013, at the end of 2013, I was working out what to do. And I set up the UK office of a German marketing agency. But knowing what then happened in the subsequent 10 years, I think the advice I would have given to myself is probably just enjoy yourself. I mean, like really, like, you know, in the next 10 years, there's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. You're going to have like really stressful moments. You're going to have moments of elation, the birth of my 2 children, marrying my wife. You know, I've taken multiple sabbaticals during that time. I've had business highs, I've had business lows, but all of it is just, you know, it's just life. And that's the, you know, you got to enjoy that, all of it. And, you know, it's not about, you know, trying to make 100 million pounds, or it's not about like, if I do all these things, this will be the end goal. It's like, this is life. You know, those were 10 years from my 20s into my 30s. And what a glorious, incredible time full of rich experiences and relationships. You know, I would say enjoy every moment and keep doing that, because that's all you really have anyway.
Hey, great advice. Great advice is something that I would have told myself as well. Take myself a little bit less seriously and enjoy as every moment as much as you can. That's really, really great. Hey, thank you so much, Mark, to be on this episode of the podcast. What the final thing is I normally ask is social media, websites. Where can our listeners try SURI?
Yeah, so on Instagram, we're at Discover SURI. On the internet, we're www.trysuri.com. And those are really the best 2 places to engage with us. But you can also find us in boot stores across the country. We're on Amazon. And yeah, it's thank you so much for having us on. You know, I'm a big fan of you personally, Piero, and what you do. So I'm honored to be part of it, and yeah, look forward to, if anyone has any questions, just email me. It's mark@trysuri.com.